India's first comic for grown-ups is here. This is Jump. The protagonist, Daksh, is a groovy young character and son of death god Yama. Jump comes from the house of Level 10. Here's a conversation with one of the founders at Level 10, Shreyas.
Level 10 Entertainment, the company behind Comic Jump, was started by me and a colleague of mine called Suhas. I used to be a Unilever manager. Suhas was a software professional in the US. For as long as I can remember, both of us have always been a bit of comic book geeks. When we used to study together, we used to always look at the comics that are coming out in India, and we used to compare them with comics across the globe that we used to get our hands upon. It seemed like a natural extension of our own passions, and we've been cribbing so long that Indian comics are not up to the mark, so we decided that why not just take a leap of faith and see what kind of content that we can come up with. That was pretty much the genesis of Level 10 Entertainment as such. Eventually one thing led to another. We quit our jobs, we moved back to Bangalore, we started the company, we built a team, we got distribution in place, eventually went on to raise funding. We've got fantastic response from the core comic book community. The big challenge that we face is to really move beyond the core community of comic book lovers and have a mass appeal. Comic books was just the beginning for us. Moving forward, we are now really kicked about our digital initiatives. We are going to be present on the web as an e-comic. We are going to be launching our own apps called Level 10 Comics across the Android and the iPhone marketplace. And apart from just the comic books themselves, one of our properties is going to become an animated series sometime next year.
Is Jump going to evolve into something else, or is it going to remain a comic book series?
We've never really considered ourselves as a comic book company. We'd like to kind of think of ourselves as intellectual property creators. And if you look at the US, they have the Superman and Batman. If you look at Europe, they have their Asterix, the Tintin, and so on and so forth. Every country across the globe, Japan, manga influence, Southeast Asia, again with their own influences, every country across the globe has these characters which really appeal to that country. And these characters go beyond just comics. For us, we want to create the same kind of contemporary properties in India because we've largely been languishing with Mahabharata and Ramayana and reruns of the same. So we've not really gone and tried to create something which I would call genre fiction in this country. So across the globe, the people who are really consuming comics are actually the 18+ male segment. So we wanted to focus that segment, and Daksh was our first attempt to really stretch the boundaries of what Indian fiction has done. So we did not hold back. We went completely overboard with Daksh.
Can you give some examples of how overboard Daksh was?
All these souls from hell have escaped. So Daksh is the son of the death god Yama, and he's going about harnessing these souls back. So it's got Hitler running around free in Germany. It's got it's got all of these Mussolini, Hitlers, Jack the Rippers running around committing all kind of carnage. The violence is over the top. A lot of sexually explicit content also. So it was really pushing the envelope of storytelling.
Have you always thought of becoming an entrepreneur, or was it something that happened sort of, on a whim?
I don't think being an entrepreneur is ever pre-planned. Some reason or the other, we were extremely unhappy in our respective jobs. So, and you really can't pin it down to one or two reasons. It's just so happened that things kind of turned out like that. It wasn't like our social lives were going anywhere. So one fine evening in 2009, I think we were just sitting, cribbing about our life in general, and we really wanted to do something different. And that's how this whole comic book idea came about. It took us about nearly a year from that initial discussion to actually doing the final plunge, but the genesis still remains there. I think we had to bootstrap for nearly a year. So there was a year in which we didn't pay ourselves any salaries. So that was quite a difficult period for us.
What's entrepreneurship meant for you as an individual?
I think if I had to sum it in one word, it would be freedom. With regular corporate jobs, you always have a lot of boundaries. Some are imaginary and some are reality, which you really can't surpass. So to me, entrepreneurship has largely been about breaking the shackles from our old corporate careers and really going out there and doing something that we've always wanted to do.
Obviously, there would have been people who raised objections, as well as people who would have said, yeah, do it, that's so cool what you're trying to do. So tell me about your experience with all the voices that came around.
I came from a very traditional Tambram family where everyone goes to the IITs, IIMs and goes on to become bankers and lawyers, and I was down that path. So breaking away from that path and doing something radically different came as a bit of a shock to the family. I mean, that's still a battle that we have not really won. So on the positive side, yeah, there were a lot of people, our peers who were still stuck in their corporate jobs, who said, oh, this is so cool, we wish we were doing the same. Which kind of, even in these really dark days when you're like wondering what the hell have I done with my life, kind of brings back those memories when you were in that phase of life and then you were complaining, you know, what am I doing with my life and so on and so forth. So that kind of brings you back on track. It's been a year and a half and I can't really say that it's gotten any better. It's still a struggle for us. It's with funds coming in, it's only that the canvas has grown a bit larger, but the struggles continue to remain. So,
do you think one day you might create a character, whether it's on Jump or some other property of yours, who might actually be an entrepreneur?
It's an interesting concept. So it's not something that has really crossed our mind. Probably we'll go back to the drawing board and figure that one out.
Okay, thank you so much for being on Chai with Lakshmi. Good luck with level 10, Jump, and whatever is in store ahead for you in the future.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. Best of luck for your venture too.
Thank you, and thanks for joining us on Chai with Lakshmi.